Good afternoon, everybody. With the storm now, having moved out and cleared up, we can now go back to focusing on mainly local stuff. So the next few hours in particular look like they are going to be rather calm. We do have a shortwave ridge moving over the area. However, as we head into the evening and overnight hours, we see this trough start to move in to the area, and we have some pretty crazy divergence aloft, or defluence, really, um, which could certainly be a cause for some rising motion, especially as this jet really sticks its nose into our business here. We're pretty decent chance that we see some precipitation from the system, especially as we end up in the left exit region of this jet streak as well. So tonight into tomorrow morning, I would say is the best chance for precipitation, at least from that system. And then as we head into Wednesday, and then as we head into tomorrow night and Wednesday morning, it becomes more clear that there's also a pretty broad system kind of starting to build along this axis. It's a very long axis. And you can see that trough-like feature kind of like all the way around here. So another little thing to watch. Now let's head down to the 850 millibar level. Again, we are actually kind of under that shortwave ridge right now at the 850 millibar level, which might explain why I've seen some patches of blue sky and it seems a little bit sunnier than normal. That could very well explain that. But this low pressure system is definitely going to start to make its way as we head into this evening and into the overnight and be right over us at the 850 level by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then you can also see that more general trough pattern here, 7 a.m. Wednesday morning, and it looks like that axis is directly along here. So the axis is going to be just a little bit to our west. Now, as we head down to the surface, excuse me, I said to the surface. Oh, it's thinking. It's having a moment. Give it a moment. There we go. Now, again, we do see this little area of high pressure immediately off to our west right now. That does kind of move over us a little bit here, although we do see that low pressure right behind it, already starting to develop just to our northwest here with that incoming trough. And then that moves over and starts to impact our area. Definitely, I would say, again, overnight and into tomorrow morning. There's looks like a cold front stretching kind of along this way. So that will start to impact us again into the early morning hours. Yeah, overnight into the early morning hours. And then the next little system is not really evident on the surface here as we head into Wednesday morning, but you can see there is a lot of cold air. And it looks like we do have a little bit of high pressure building way off in Canada to our northwest here. A lot of cold air. And unfortunately, it is going to remain cold for a long time. And looking a little bit far into the future, I have looked a little bit farther than this goes out. And it does seem that we may need to be prepared for another round of ridiculously cold temperatures. Not quite as cold as the last round, but still very, very, very cold. And that even is true tonight. Tonight, I don't think is going to be as cold as some of the days that we have coming up, but it is still cold enough that we do have a cold weather advisory in effect for our area once again. And this cold weather advisory is in effect from 7 p.m. this evening to 9 a.m. Tuesday morning. Very cold wind chills as low as 17 below expected. Cold wind chills as low as 15 below also mentioned, so 15 to 17 below zero. And of course, there's a risk for hypothermia or frostbite pretty quickly in these types of conditions if you are not wearing the proper apparel. So do be aware of that. Tonight it is going to get really cold again. Not quite as cold as the other night, but still very, very, very cold. And again, unfortunately, it seems like I foresee another one of these cold weather advisories being issued for our area later in the week. So let's zoom in and actually look at our highs and lows here. So it looks like our high today is pretty much already being realized. Just around the mid, 10s. We're looking at 14, 15, 16 degrees. And then by tonight, tonight temperatures are really going to drop. And it looks like our low is going to be in the lower single digits. And we do even have some pockets of 0 degrees and even down to -5 degrees, just as far south as our neighbors in Indiana and Ohio. Things will warm up a little bit tomorrow, at least compared to the overnight. We will be pretty much back right where we were today, although maybe slightly colder, maybe around 13, 14 degrees or so. And then it gets cold again as we head into tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. Again, we find ourselves back in the lower single digits. And again, our neighbors to the south are going to be dealing with below 0 and even below -5 degree temperatures. And yeah, that will even expand as we head into Wednesday morning. A large portion of Indiana and Ohio, and even into Pennsylvania, will be below 0, and a good portion of Indiana, Ohio will be below -5. So very, very cold temperatures. Now, what about wind? Well, wind is actually why we have the cold weather advisory in effect for tonight into tomorrow morning. Right now, the winds are not overly dramatic, and they'll pretty much remain where they are for the rest of the day. But as we head into the overnight, particularly as we get closer to midnight and the particularly as we head closer to midnight and into the early morning hours. God, I cannot speak English today. The winds do start to increase. We're looking at 15 to 20 miles per hour sustained here. And that is still the case. We're at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then the winds will even get a little bit stronger through tomorrow afternoon. Again, 15 to 20 degree sustained winds. And then they will start to relent a bit as we head into tomorrow evening and then into Wednesday morning. But if we look at the wind gusts, again, nothing crazy right now. We're looking at 15-mile-an-hour gusts at their worst. They will build up a little bit as we start to head into the late afternoon, and then they really build up as we head into the evening and into the overnight. And then again, especially as we head into the morning. For most of the overnight, wind gusts are likely going to be in the 30 to 35 mile per hour range, though we could see some spots of 40 mile per hour gusts, especially as we head into the morning. So that is most certainly why we have the cold weather advisory. Even though the actual temperatures are not expected to drop down into the negatives like they did with the previous cold wave, the wind is going to be a lot stronger than it was for that wave. And so it is essentially going to make up for that difference in temperature. Last time it was so cold because our real temperatures were like -12, and even just the tiniest bit of wind dropped the wind chills down to like -20. This time around, the real temperatures are going to be positive. Granted, they're only going to be single digits, but there's so much more wind that it's still going to drop the wind chills down to like -15, -17. So, different reason for the cold weather advisory, but going to feel pretty much the same nonetheless. Now the wind gusts start to calm down a little bit as we head into tomorrow afternoon. We're still looking at some 25 to 30 mile per hour gusts here, and those pretty much remain until the evening when they finally start to die down, and by Wednesday morning we're really only looking at 15 to 20 mile an hour wind gusts. Now something I'm interested to take a look at here is the precipitation. We do see a little bit of snow coming off the coast from the right now, mainly to hours south and west, but not bad. Some of that may mix into our area, but we will have to wait and see. But for the most part, it does look clear through this afternoon into the evening. Though then again, this is an ensemble, so some of those smaller details are lost. But of course, as we head into the overnight, particularly the early morning hours of tomorrow, and then of course even towards the later morning hours, like 7 a.m. or so, we do see some more large-scale snow make its way into the area. On here, it doesn't necessarily look like it will impact us, but it probably will. Again, some of those smaller details are lost. So we may not end up in one of these heavier patches of snow, but it will more than likely be snowing. However, it does not look like it'll be a significant amount, and then some lake effect will continue as it has many times so far this year through the day tomorrow. As we head into Monday or Wednesday morning, I don't know why I said Monday. As we head into Wednesday morning, it again looks like things start to calm down. Still a little bit of lake effect, especially to our north, but for the most part, things have calmed down. So let's take a look at our snow totals. The expected range for us is 1 to 2 inches. Again, not a lot. If you happen to be out driving when that falls, it's not going to be very good for your commute. But other than that, it's really not too notable. So if you do happen to be driving while that falls, just, slow down a bit, drive safe, leave some extra distance. But it's nothing we're not used to. Our low end amount is just a little trace of snow, which I doubt any of us would really even notice, except for maybe when you go out to, um, you know, clear your car if you have to drive. And then even our high end amount is still only 2 inches, although it is getting close to that 3-inch mark. But even the high end amount is really not something. Again, unless you're going out west. Grand Rapids 7, Muskegon 8. That is, of course, is not what's expected. Only 3 to 5, 4 to 6 over there. But that is something to keep in mind if you are traveling to the coastal areas of Michigan. They have really been getting hammered this year. It's just that been non-stop lake effect. It's been brutal for them. And now finally, let's take a look at our cloud cover. It looks like it will get a little bit more cloudy in the next couple of hours, but we may see some clearing as we start to head towards the late afternoon and into the evening. Then maybe we see another brief window of clearing later in the night, but it should remain pretty much cloudy through most of the early morning hours and even late morning hours. Just morning tomorrow, it should remain cloudy. There may be some small breaks as we start to head into the afternoon with some of that lake effect, where those bands just happen to not be. And then those breaks will expand as we head towards the evening. This is around 6 p.m. You can really start to see some clearing in our area. So maybe we might get lucky. This is 5 p.m. here. Maybe we might get lucky and the clouds might break just enough for us to see a little peek of the sunset. And then the overnight should be mostly clear. Although, as we head, the beginning part of the overnight should be mostly clear. As we head into the early morning hours, though, it looks like some of those clouds do build back into the area. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow.